thank you all for joining us today for Digital Space, a Safe Space, a panel featuring artists from our current exhibition, Cyber Healing, curated by Kiara Cristina Ventura. My name is Nicole Mourinho, and I'm the program administrator / head of arts programming of the Latinx Project at NYU. Cyber Healing was selected through our open calls last summer, and we could not be more grateful to the participating artists and Kiara for their continued collaboration, especially in this difficult time when the exhibition needed to be transformed to the virtual realm. Some light housekeeping before I pass on the video to Kiara and our panelists. The chat function is disabled, so please add any cues to the Q&A portion of the webinar. Granted, we have the time, Kiara will be selecting from those cues in the last 10 to 15 minutes of the panel. The event will be recorded, as you may have heard or seen, but if you need to pop off for any reason, this means we'll have the recording available to you at latinxproject.nyu.edu. Now I will head off. Thank you again for being here, and Kiara, take it away.
Hello, I'm just excited right now to have the artists present and to have this space. And it's so fitting because the show is literally called Cyber Healing. And here we are connecting in the digital world and gathering in this space where, you know, we don't have to social distance. We have this freedom here to talk to each other and get intimate, at least online. But yeah, my name is Kiara Cristina Ventura. I'm the curator of Cyber Healing. And just a little bit about the show. This idea, it was really influenced by what I was realizing through interacting in digital spaces. I've been having this theme in my mind for a show for a few years. And then it kind of resurfaced in March when I saw that everyone was going to digital spaces even more and visiting them even more as a way to interact and connect. And also realizing that digital spaces are a space of gathering and can be a safe space for many, a safe space to experiment, a safe space to be in their truth and in their identity. And now that's more relevant now more than ever. Start off with a little meditation just so we can get ourselves. I need maybe y'all need to, but I just want to lead everyone through some breath work so we could feel a little bit more grounded, a little bit more present and more comfortable. I know it's not face to face, but hey, if we have the space to breathe and we can make time to breathe, why not? So I do want everyone, if you have coffee, water, you know, have that by your side. And find just a good or comfortable seating position. If you can, sit up straight or lean on something. If you're laying down, you could even lay down. If you're on your bed, you know, be comfortable. And if you're sitting down, just simply sit up straight, and you can have your palms on your thighs facing down. If you're feeling a little bit more open today, and you feel like just receiving, you can have your palms up. I'm gonna have mine this. And you can close your eyes. And in the count of 3, breathe in. 1, 2, 3, breathe in. And breathe out. And when you're breathing out, make sure it comes out slowly or in the count of 3 as well. In the count of 3, breathe in. And breathe out. And in this moment, you could just see how your body is feeling. How fast is your heart beating? Are your feet grounded on the floor? If you want to feel a little bit more grounded, have your soles touch the floor fully. We're going to do 4 more breaths. Breathe in and breathe out. And breathe in and breathe out. How you're feeling today? Do you feel present? You could wiggle your fingertips, you could wiggle your toes, shimmy your shoulders, move your hips. Breathe in, breathe out, and breathe in, and breathe out. And maybe you could think of, what are you grateful for today? Are you grateful to be sitting in a comfy chair? Are you grateful to be gathered here today? Are you grateful to just have woken up and brushing your teeth? Just take it all in. And we're gonna end on a breath. One more breath. Breathe in and breathe out. And then when you're ready, you can open your eyes. And you could meet us back here into the virtual space. All righty. How are we feeling, y'all?
Oh, nice. Thank you.
Dope. Thank you. Dope. So I want to open up the space to the artists that are present here. So everyone, can you introduce your name, your pronouns, your titles? And when I say titles, I don't just mean, oh, I'm a sculptor, right? I want to ask you, you know, like, how do you define yourself? Do you define yourself as a lover? Do you define yourself as a foodie? Do you just define yourself as a, you know, as a sibling, a loving, you know, person? You know, name all of your titles. I want to know it all. So who wants to start off? Florencia.
Oh, I had to start. Okay. Hi, everyone. My name's Florencia, and I'm from Argentina, but I've been in New York for 10 years. And I'm a multimedia artist, so I work across different mediums, sculpture, photography, and textile work. So it kind of just depends on the project I'm working on, what I'm gonna work with. Yeah, I don't know. Gina, you want to go?
I felt that energy coming towards me. Hi, everyone. My name is Gina. I'm from the Dominican Republic. I'm based in the Bronx right now. And I am an artist, educator, and necia. So I really push for things. I really am hard-headed. But I find that that's one of my superpowers, just like being necia, but also I feel that I'm a vulnerable person. And sometimes we in our society believe that vulnerability is something to be afraid of, but I feel that that's also another superpower. ¿Y qué más? I'm really excited to be here with these awesome beings. Oh, my pronouns are she, her, hers, ella en español. Y I am going to pass it to Moréna.
Hello, everyone. I also very similarly felt that energy surge coming my way. I feel like we telepathically communicated. I heard it before you said it out loud. But hello, everyone. My name is Moréna. My pronouns are they, them. I'm known as Moréna Espiritual, which is my artist name. I am a performance artist, an educator, cultural worker. I organize, I make erotic art, like I do a lot of things. Really, I really relate to what Gina was sharing about being necia, or like the vulnerability, because I think that I am also a very vulnerable and straightforward and communicative person. And as a Dominican non-binary person from El Campo, like I feel like my concept of masculinity has been shaped by vulnerability because of what I hear or what I've heard in like bachatas and how openly men in like Black communities in DR really openly express what they're feeling. So yeah, that's me. You'll hear more about me as we talk. I'm going to pass the mic to Catherine.
Hey y'all. So blessed to be in the space with all of you. My name is Catherine Feliz. Pronouns are they, them. I also go by Kat. I'm currently based in Tongvaland, Los Angeles, as of super recently. And some of the words that I guess would currently describe myself, like, feel like there's obviously like so many, just I think other people can relate, but I've been feeling like a mix of Venus and Uranus, like their energy is just all over me and coursing through me. Yeah, and my practice is multidisciplinary. So that can look like writing or installations or curating and video and sound from the studio in terms of life and being in community, being in ceremony, and different ways of like shape shifting through the world. And I'm gonna throw the mic to Chloe.
Hi, my name is Chloe Luisa Piñero. My pronouns are she, her. I'm a mixed media artist and educator from Philadelphia, currently living here. And a lot of my work has been influenced from my experience growing up in Philadelphia, and hearing stories told by my family about their experiences in this city and also Puerto Rico. And those histories and experiences really being attached to objects and material and place. And so I pull a lot of my inspiration from my everyday encounters with materials and place, and bring that into my work. So yeah, I work in a lot of mixed media, collage. I have a background in painting.
Thank you guys for the beautiful introductions of yourself. I am really interested in asking this question because before we get into how the digital like influences your work, I do want to know, how is everyone's experience growing up, and also growing up with the internet?
I could start. In my case, as I said, I am from the Dominican Republic. I was born and raised there. My apologies for the one train next to me right now. So, and I was born in '89. So for me, internet came into my life when I was like 12. And as a Dominican kid in Santo Domingo, basically, I was really lucky that I had access in my house to internet. Of course, it was dial-up, so whenever people weren't using the phone, I could access, and it was a gateway for me to look at manga. Like I used to watch a lot of anime. It was great also because I learned how to download music because CDs were mad expensive back home. So it was great just like to get access to that. And I found a lot of community too as a queer woman. Like in the Dominican Republic, of course, I didn't really know of people that were like queer or bi or lesbian or gay. And I was like, let me just Google that. I used Yahoo, not Google back then. So I would just like look for things and inform myself and not feel that alone. Also, MySpace, my God, MySpace was life. And the little things I know about coding HTML was because I used to like put like music in the background. I changed everything, would like put my favorite band music there. It was amazing. So that's my experience with the internet growing up.
I can go. Also because Gina once again got my mind flowing and thinking, but similarly, the way that you say you were like looking for yourself, basically, like, typing different sets of identities, like trying to see if you could find a reflection of yourself. I feel like the internet has done that for me a lot, especially as I began to get older and form more intentional community through who I follow, right? And for sure, like, once again, for context, I was born in New York. My family is from Puerto Plata. I'm first generation, one of the only people born on Lenape land. Constantly going back and forth between two places, as is the experience of a lot of people whose family has had to migrate, not necessarily because they want to. But yeah, so my mom is from like the countryside, a place called Altamira in Puerto Plata in El Cibao. And my father is more from the city. So my experience mostly growing up with my mother's side, because my mom and my dad got separated, was me going to El Campo and like having a lot of core things about me formed in this space where simultaneously people did not understand or accept queerness, or like had a very ingrained like anti-Blackness, or just many different things. I mean, these are problems that exist everywhere, right? But in this particular context, I just remember dying, wanting to know, like, am I a fucking alien? Like, am I a fucking, like, do other people like me exist? Yo, like, and the internet, once I got older, really helped me connect with different people in the Dominican Republic who were more aligned with my belief systems. And so eventually when I moved over there, I had a community that was more shaped to what my values are. And right now I am in Puerto Rico, Santurce, Puerto Rico. And I'm like staying with some Puerto Rican friends that were born, raised here, whatever. And similarly, I wouldn't have met these friends if not for the internet. So I feel like the internet has become an extension of me building real life community.
I can go if no one else wants to go. I feel like similar to Gina, I started my experience with the internet with a dial-up modem, and it was this whole process, and it was so slow, and I kind of didn't care about it. Like the only thing I cared about it was like building my MySpace page and putting all like glittery flowers. And but then when I never really liked Facebook. I don't know, there was like things where I don't know if anyone else had this experience, but yeah, I think it's definitely changed, where I feel like still like I'll spend a lot of time on my computer now, but I still prefer reading books. Like I don't like doing research online. I don't know. Yeah, but it's always good. Like I feel like what's always surprising is like when some random person reaches out to you and it's like, oh, I saw this thing you did a long time ago. And so I feel like that's what I'm always like excited about, is that like unknown of the web. I don't know if anyone else wants to talk.
I can go.
Yeah, sure. I was just gonna say that I can like relate to what Moréna was saying about internet community, like extending into building real life community. I feel like that has definitely been my life for like, yeah, like since I left like my mother's home. And just like having the opportunity to kind of like go anywhere in the world and like find queer and trans and like just like punk anarchists, like just like people who are like kind of on the margins of like so many parts of society. The reason why like we were able to find each other like was because of the web of relation that we were kind of like setting up networks for ourselves, right? Like networks of care, networks of survival, networks of like inspiration and collaboration. So yeah, I like even now, when I'm kind of back here now on the West Coast, but kind of like in a new place that I haven't been, that's also coming up for me, where like my direct community is folks that I've been connected to on the internet. But that wasn't always my life. Like I didn't have internet in my apartment growing up in Washington Heights. Like we were pretty poor and like we didn't even really have cable. So I think a lot of my experience growing up internet was just like a symbol of lack, of like being poor, and like the kind of like basic things that, or like basic things, right, that like teachers would be like, oh, like do this assignment or da 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 da. And like for me that would mean I would have to like spend extra time at the library and just like schedule myself to yeah, have internet access. So like I wasn't really able to maintain things like social media profiles like MySpace or AOL and things like that. Yeah, and that also just kind of like got me into like this other world of like academic access, right? Because I would join after school programs, and like that would be another perk as well. So yeah, I would say like that was kind of a big part of my introduction to the internet. Is just like, yeah, not having it and having to be resourceful.
Yeah, like I think, yeah, I felt the MySpace no, yeah, even like putting together this show, I was thinking of like, I guess like the different apps and like websites we've used throughout the years. So like I feel like, yeah, I had a MySpace in like 5th grade. And you know, trying to do like the HTML, and then like I use those skills from MySpace to go on to Tumblr and like try to pimp out my Tumblr and like have like the freaking flashy backgrounds and all of that good stuff. And then Tumblr was a weird space as well, because Tumblr, like, you would see so many photos of things that you wanted, which was weird. Like, you know, like a cute bedroom, like a cute teenage bedroom, and like all of these other things. And then I don't know, now I think of it and I'm like, yo, I think I have some of the things that I used to put on my Tumblr page now that I'm old enough to like get it, or you know what I mean? And now it's kind of like Instagram. So my next question is kind of based on that, just like with the applications that you use now, whether it's Twitter or like social media or Facebook. I want to be very nosy here, and I want to ask, what does everyone's feeds look like? Because as Moréna mentioned, like, yeah, like we curate our feeds, right? Like we follow certain people because we want to interact with their energy, or we want to you know, have a conversation with them somehow, whether that's liking their pictures or sending them a DM or commenting. That's an exchange of energy online. So I want to know, like, what kind of energy do you bring onto your online space? And what do your feeds look like? What kind of people and beings do you follow?
I could go first. So I like, when I first had Instagram, I guess I like followed a lot of people at once. I was just kind of like obsessive about like seeing different profiles and different people and like the access to so many different things. And then like I kind of saw myself unfollowing people to kind of better curate what content I wanted to interact with. And so I follow like, I follow a lot of other artists. I feel like that's my number one thing. And I look to other artists to like kind of, I think it's amazing that we can just like see artists all over the world via Instagram. Like that's incredible. And I think it's really cool when you can like find someone whose practice resonates with yours and you can learn from in that way. But with Instagram, like changing algorithms all the time, I feel like I can never, like I feel like I'm always seeing content I don't really want to be seeing. I don't know if anyone else has that experience.
Yeah, I feel like there's people that I follow that I like, or accounts that I follow that I like want to see more of, and I just don't, and then I just like forget about it because it like gets lost in the ether, and I don't really like know how to change that. But probably, um, I feel like a big pull for me to kind of follow an account is, I feel like I'm attracted to the ways that people post authenticity and also like inspiration, like how am I feeling like after viewing and like taking in this material, and not like necessarily that like it needs to be good and comfortable and like make me feel light, but just yeah, like does it feel conducive to like moving something around? And in terms of authenticity, like I don't yeah, I just like I don't really like um a lot of paid sponsorships and like flyers and just like yeah. And then of course there's yeah, I like to follow accounts that feel like they're within community, and yeah, it's like weirdly a way to I'm also team like anti-Instagram. So I'm like waiting for there to be a new platform that we could all migrate to and collectively be like, okay, nah, like we're not doing this free label anymore for like these media conglomerates. So that's also another thing, right? And also just like the way that they're completely surveilling and controlling our lives and reprogramming our mindset. So that was my soapbox.
Yeah. So that's the whole thing. Like, and it's I've been pushing myself to do that, to like using Instagram more now, like this tool for amplifying the people that I want, and like being really more like, I didn't think about curating until you brought this up, Kiara, like 2 weeks ago. So I'm one of those people that has two Instagram accounts. One Instagram account is like a personal one, and which I'm like just photo dumping and like following friends and family. The other one is more like curated, in which I follow like anarchist and Marxist memes account, because you know memes are going to inform the people. I believe in that. Um, I follow a lot of like grassroots organizations, artists, of course. But as of lately, like I do see that my feed, and I just like to look after this idea of curating how it looks like, and usually like it's mostly the meme accounts, and I see how it shifts depending on what I'm liking or resharing. But I get really annoyed with the ads. I feel the more I use the app, the more ads I get in there, and I get really upset. But then I do realize I have a problem with Instagram. I find myself endlessly scrolling a lot. So yeah, hopefully we can find another platform that's not that addicting.
I feel like I don't know. I kind of, yeah, Instagram's problematic because also I feel like a lot of the times what I'll see is like everyone is posting the same thing at the same time. And I'm like, oh, okay, this person died. Everyone had to do it. And I think I want to like be able to find more accounts that'd be something surprising. And I'd be like, oh, weird. I have no idea. Like if it was more useful for information or something. So I always try to look, I'm really into design and art. And so I'm just like, always just like, I'll just follow people that are making interesting work. But yeah, I feel like what the thinking about the safety is also like, there's certain people that have this very angry tone of voice all the time. And I think I can't follow them. Because it makes me, I'm like, why are you yelling at me? You know, like, and then I'm like, oh, I didn't do anything. But it's just like this tone of voice that makes you feel like, oh, everyone's angry all the time. And what are we going to do about it? You know?
Well, feed, curating. Shout out to the beautiful points made about surveillance capitalism and the way that they track us and monitor our stuff. I definitely be feeling the repercussions of that, especially because Instagram hates like nudity and sex workers more specifically, and Black sex workers very specifically. And queer and trans people and people that talk about really intense political things. But yeah, they be like shadow banning me and stuff. Actually, like a little bit over a year ago was when I first noticed that I got intensely shadow banned on my stories, because I used to have like thousands of people viewing them, like 1 or 2K, and then it just went down like to like max like 400, you know? And I remember at the time I was with another friend in California that is an educator, that is also an Afro-Indigenous educator, and like they talk about a lot of political things, and like they got shadow bans around the same time, and we were just talking about it like, wow, like did you just see like all your views go down? And they were like, yeah, look, all my views went down too. So love-hate relationship with Instagram. I definitely use it as a tool to connect to people that I want to meet in real life very concretely. You know, like if I'm like, I want to go someplace, yeah, I try to find people in that place that share similar interests as me, that are doing similar things, that are working in what is like my focal point, or what I consider to be my focal point. Because even though I create in so many different mediums. I do believe that I'm just saying the same things in different ways, really. But yeah, I also follow things that can teach me stuff. So if there are experiences that I do not have, right? Because we're all on the spectrum of like privileges and oppressions. Somewhere on that spectrum you are. I like to follow feeds that can teach me about things that I don't know. And obviously, if I have the money at the time, redistributing to those people for that labor as well. But yeah, for example, that'll mean like if I'm really on a like unlearning journey on fat phobia or like disability or something, like I'll follow accounts of real life people also. Like that's important, like, you know, getting people who actually live the experience and like hearing them talk about it, and not just like infographics or like people sharing articles and stuff. But yeah, I also share a bunch of art. I just do what I can on the platform, because it's what it is right now. I've been on Instagram for a while. Sometimes I want to leave, but other times I feel like it's another one of my obligations, and I bet most people here can unfortunately understand that.
Yeah, so I'm interested in how, right, these experiences, and it's crazy because it's like I could frame this not the situation, but I could frame these, you know, us going onto digital space as safe space. That's why I wanted to have a discussion about it, because yeah, at the end of the day, like I even think of physical spaces, right? We had physical spaces as safe space of gathering, but at the end of the day, like there's always the question, is that space really safe at the end of the day? Like at the end of the day, we live in these systems, and due to some of our identities, like we're marginalized to some point. So it's like, is there anywhere where we could actually be safe, you know? And at the end of the day, we're still gonna try to navigate ourselves into and find more places where we feel comfortable and where we could feel like our true selves, and speak our truth. But that journey is always gonna go on, you know what I mean? So from these experiences that we have with the online worlds every day, I'm interested in how everyone either sources from the digital or uses digital spaces as a platform to share their work. So if you guys could just talk about, you know, what is your relationship with the digital space, and your artistic practice?
I can talk first. For me, I pull a lot of my content for my work from my surroundings, and I noticed that with COVID and spending more time indoors and on my computer, the internet, whatever, I was making a lot more of my work using digital media, and it's what, and specifically from Instagram. So it's like we're constantly getting all of this information, and yeah, I just like decided to make work using that imagery, whatever images or imagery was speaking to me. And so I just will like screenshot things and keep like a messy archive that I pull from. Yeah, and then I also share my work on Instagram. I feel like that's how I connect to my community of artists the most, and how we show each other work, and especially during COVID. Yeah.
Yeah, I've been I have been using the internet for a long time as a research ground for my artwork, even if maybe Jesus. Okay, sorry about that. Just so for research and visual references, I have a hot mess in my desktop with a lot of screenshots, a lot of like stuff I just drag and drop and never organize. But also, as of lately, especially, well, first, like with Loving Suits, my current project, I did an open call for Dominican women to be part of it. It was through Instagram, and through Instagram and Google Forms, I was able to collect the participants, and I collected a lot of people that were not even necessarily near my circle or knew me. So after that and COVID happened, also through the internet, I was able to hold these healing spaces, hold these interviews that I was doing with the women. And also, I've been doing workshops through Zoom. I did a performance through Zoom the other day. So I've been like, I don't know, I have conflict sometimes with the sense of accessibility to internet, especially as a Dominican woman that understands that back home, you know, like se va la luz, you don't have electricity, or you know, like internet sucks. So and I try to work for and yeah, for my people back home. So even that, so I do know that, you know, like most phones have access to internet, and you buy una tarjeta 100 pesos y se la ponen, maybe you can like have access to that safe space on your phone. And also understanding the fact that, for example, here, Catherine is in Tongaland, so they are in LA, and we are in New York, and we're like in so many different places. I do have to understand that sometimes, even if we have some limitations as a safe space and also access to internet, it's kind of democratic. I don't like using that, but yes, I guess. So yeah, I've been using much more the internet, and I'm happy that I've been using it and having also exhibitions online. So yeah.
So much of my work is about images and how much like they inform our imagination and like not just our perspective, and also like framing, right? Like what is the frame in which we're encountering information. And like initially I was trained as a photographer from like the time that I was 14, but like since then my practice has expanded, but still like the frame kind of like remains and is like broken up and like breaks up spaces and worlds, and the internet was of me like sourcing information, especially through like a lot of digital collections and archives, and I would like kind of call myself like an armchair archaeologist, because I was like digging up a lot of information through the internet by just like being wherever I was, like whether it was in bed or on the couch. And I think in that way, like it was safer for me on like emotional levels, in terms of like being able to hit the pause button, like you know, like a lot of times when you like physically go into an archive and are, for example, like looking at 17th century ledgers of like slavers, and like looking at names, and like looking at like the a lot of stolen material to digest. So I think that's like one way in which it was safer, and then also just having like more like democratic access. And I think in terms of the way that my social media engagement, I feel like it's like I'm not really, with my artist practice, like it doesn't feel intentional. But in terms of my work as a medicine person and as an organizer in like whatever form, in whatever sort at the moment, I feel like that's been super generative, to like call folks toward me and like towards us, and specifically with like Abuela taught me, we made the space because we encountered like hella transphobia, Blackness, and a lot of like the Taino ceremonial spaces in New York, for example. And there were just like a lot of like actual barriers like for us to like be in practice and learning, and like so like we just created our own space, and through like making that kind of safer space online, like yeah, we have community now, and like other folks have community. So I guess that's like, yeah, that's one way in which I'm thinking about that.
Wow. Thank you for sharing. Really loved listening to that answer. That project that y'all started is really beautiful and moving and inspiring. So cute. Personally, I think that I see the internet as a portal, as like a little portal. A lot of my work right now is exploring, thinking about, deals with concepts of time and temporality. Archival, the body as an archival technology, what it means to archive, why it's necessary to archive and to document yourself, especially as someone who exists at the intersection of so many identities, where I feel like we just had a conversation in the beginning of how it was a journey to find other people that I feel like resemble me or were a reflection of me. And even within that, there's so many nuances, you know what I'm saying? Because like all of our identities are so specific and unique. And even within these communities that I've met, I don't know a lot of people, I've realized this as I've gotten older too, the way that my family's history has shaped who I am and why I am where I am, or where I've arrived, right? A lot of it being because of displacement, like my mother's side being like mixed, definitely descendants of Tainos, like growing up on the land still. But literally being so poor where people would die from the fucking poverty, in the older generations. And like, just like my mother coming to the United States because she couldn't find a job where like the person in the town wasn't asking her for sex in exchange, and she was still a teacher, she was still an educator, but she still wasn't making enough for her family to be good. And then on my dad's side, with like, my Black side, coming from Cocolos, which were Black people in the Caribbean, in the Dominican Republic, that are not even necessarily from the same Africans that were originally brought over to the islands. Like my grandmother's mother was from the British islands of Tortola, and I literally found out the other day that I still have family over there. So it's just like that, combined with the fact that I'm trans, like, you know, non-binary, like a trans masculine person specifically, like I don't know a lot of like Black, Indigenous people from the Dominican Republic existing in the, like, from the context that I exist from and making the type of art that I'm making. So I think that it's really important to document myself so that other people can see that this exists. And I think that the internet is like this cool little thing that defines time, right? Because there are so many different time zones around the world right now, but when I archive something on the internet, now my friends in Colombia and my friends in Puerto Rico and my friends in Brazil and my friends in the Dominican Republic have all experienced that moment without me needing to be with them in the physical, right? And especially when my practices, my movement practices and my performance practices are rooted in like ritual and freestyle and ancestral memory, that can be really impactful. You know what I'm saying? The transmission. So it's like a feeling to feeling communication that I got going on. Yeah.
Did everyone get to answer the question? I think everyone did, right? Cool. So yeah, while you were speaking, Moréna, I really felt that. And I think it's beautiful that we can have access to people who are in our communities, but may not be in the US. They may be in freaking Europe, in Brazil, in Argentina. Like, you know, I think that's the beautiful thing about the internet, is that we could find these communities that we're a part of, whether it's like, you know, and also the different diasporas, whether it's the Afro-Latinx diaspora or the Latinx diaspora, or, you know, the queer community or the sex community or the ASMR community. You know what I mean? It's just like, I think that's the beautiful thing, is that we could find these communities and forums and conversations. And in the end, I'm interested in that space where we find that healing, where we find other people that we could relate to and be like, yo, there's someone out there that feels the same way as me, maybe that identifies the same way as me. And then that's that point of relation where you're just like, oh shit, I'm not alone. And I feel like in that time where it clicks and you're like, oh shit, I'm not alone, I feel like that's that point of healing. And then you may get closer to these people and these different energies, and then it's just a space of gathering. Yeah, and I think is, yeah, that point of healing and also accessibility, that this is free. I mean, you have to pay for your internet and have, you know, some kind of electricity. As long as you have that, if I lose on, you're good, right? So yeah, and I think of it also on an individual level of like, when we need something, you know, if we need to speak to a family member, we could call them on FaceTime. Sometimes I have trouble going to sleep and I go on YouTube and I look up ASMR videos. I literally look for like people of color doing ASMR because, you know, I'm looking for a certain voice or a certain vibe, you know. Or hey, you know, we're all sexual beings, we're looking for porn, you know what I mean? Like, how can we utilize the internet for our needs and have access to it, right? So my question to you guys is like, do you think the internet can be a space of healing? And can it be a space where you can seek aid for your community? And do you happen to utilize it in that way?
I can start. So yeah, I definitely think even though the internet is like can be a very dark place, it can be a really beneficial and like good place for like communicating, like, yeah, I need help. Like, I don't know, my partner was really sick and I went to a shaman, and the shaman was like, look, I know this is uncomfortable, but you have to tell everyone to pray for him. And I was like, oh, this is so like difficult, you know, I want to keep it private, but I had to do it. And then, you know, he got better. So I don't know. So it was, and then by sharing, all these people were talking to me and telling me all these things about their life. And so it was a good space. And it's also really good when you can like see like, okay, now when I did that, then random people I didn't know started being like, hey, my husband's sick too. Like, yeah, are you gonna do this for me? And I was like, okay, I'll do it. Like, you know, so it was a, yeah, I think it could be really helpful. I don't know what everyone else's experience is like.
Yeah, as I said, for me, I use with Loving Suits specifically, I'm thinking the internet as a safe space, like Zoom as a safe space. And just like even this little boxes, doing little symbolic actions inside of our little boxes. Like this is really intimate. Like we're in at each other's like houses, or you know, like sharing like attention and even more energy than when we are like face to face, because we are listening to someone that's not here present, and we are engaging through this screen. And it's hard, like our brains are not like really wired for this, but still we are here, we're present, we're interacting. And I believe you can use it as a safe space. I've been using it as a safe space for Loving Suits, speaking like with these women, and now opening not only for women, now I'm talking also with men around narratives of love and family relationships and trauma in our families, right? And seeing how we can together dismantle these systems and these narratives that we've been passing on over and over. And you know, like I am for holding each other, and also like I have like the sculptural aspect of it, but you know, like learning how to do workshops and teaching folks how to like make it at home with things that they can source like in a bodega or el colmado. You know, like there are ways to finding the way to make it feel more tactile, to make it feel more like we're really in each other's presence. And I don't know, I've been shifting, and I've been really happy to have been like finding communities, temporary communities, and facilitating them. And then even that, like, yeah, like amplifying voices through Instagram, um helping like all the ways that you find about some accounts that are all about fundraising and helping to, ¿cómo se dice eso? Distribute funds. And yeah, like it sucks again because of the algorithm, but we can sometimes hack it and be supportive of our communities in the micro and macro. So yeah, I do believe it is a safe space, and when we know how to use it and como hackearlo.
I feel like anything can be a healing tool, and like is a healing tool, especially in like my healing practice. I work a lot with poison medicine, and like poisonous plants, and like seeing the power that they have to like to transmute trauma. So I that all to say that I am a huge believer that there is like and in every poison there's medicine, right? So like those lines are there and like can be blurred, and often do. It's all just like a matter of dosage. And I think that the cyber world doesn't have to be separated from our like physical worlds or like this 5D reality that we're living in. And that's something also that I'm like continuing to explore is like ways like ways to integrate the ancient and like the future together, because like they are all happening on the same timeline. So how can we just like integrate in terms of like grounding, right? Like provide a ground for like the cyber world, because I feel like we're all kind of like operating as if like it's up here and it's like separate. Yeah, so that's like something that I'm thinking about. And yeah, it can all be healing. It all is
I kind of feel the same as what's already been said. I think the internet is a great place for information sharing and resource sharing. And I feel like with COVID and just everything that's been going on this year, the internet has really like been a place where a safe space for people to like communicate, to get what they need, to share what they need, to share resources with other people. And that's on like, I feel like I've been seeing that and experiencing that on like a macro scale. And then also within like my smaller direct community in like West Philadelphia. So it's been cool to see that and be able to engage with that and like have access to like sharing resources or receiving resources right now. Yeah.
For me, resource sharing has also been a big thing with the organizing that I've been doing, the cyber organizing now. And not only having like parties, not only like organizing parties or like fests and things like that, where there are Black and brown, queer and trans people from different parts of the world in the same space, but also I feel like the internet connects us in a way that gives us the opportunity to use our redistribution power also from the dollar standpoint, which is something that I feel like people don't often think about, because we're thinking about redistribution a lot in our local communities, which is so important, but we also need to remember that we have like global inequities and differences that aren't difficult for us to participate in, to help each other with, really. And big shout outs to my mother, because I feel like my mom has been the prime example of that in all ways since I'm small, seeing her sending food and money and things like that back to all of our family in DR, because, well, she understands that the dollar is worth more, right? So that is going to perhaps have a larger reach than for us here. And so I feel like the internet has been this beautiful portal for me to try and like redistribute the dollar. I'm trying to be more on that wave. I'm really trying to learn a lot about radical redistribution. I've been on my fundraising wave with organizing lately, and I just think it's really important to also have that skill set in our communities to generate money on our own without depending on institutions all the time. And yeah, I mean, so in that sense, I feel like it's a safe space that can help create a in real life safer space if we use it correctly. And in regards to my performance work, well, I've been performing for at least like 6 or 7 years. And my background is in theater. And when I first got introduced to choreography, I've done a couple of different programs that have like taught me different styles, different choreographies. I really thought that I was not going to be a dancer or that I couldn't dance because of the ways in which I was being taught. And so the internet has been a safe space for me to unlearn that toxic relationship to my artistic practice, to reclaim my relationship to my artistic practice and redefine it for myself and be able to engage with it in a more spiritual way, really. So.
So I have one more question. Ooh, that's my dog. I have one more question, and then we could open it up to the audience. So everyone in the audience, you guys can get the chat popping. You could put in some questions there, and then we'll choose like one or two to end it off. So I encourage everyone to submit a question. And yeah, so on that note, I don't know. So me as a curator, I really believe that whether the artist realizes it or is intentional about it or not, I feel like many artistic practices are also ritual in some way. I feel like us as beings on this earth, like everything that we do serves our spirit in some way, right? Like when we eat, we do that so we could not feel hungry anymore. We want to just eat something so, you know, we cure our hunger. Or we're making some tea so we could feel a little bit more relaxed, and we get chamomile tea before bed, you know, like that is something that serves your spirit in some way. And I view a lot of artistic practices as ritual because the art that you make is going to serve your spirit in some way. And not only is it going to serve your spirit, but when you share it with the world, it serves the public's spirit, right? And you're trying to make a point about something. You're trying to amplify your voice through whatever it is, sculpture, dance, painting. And if the work is physical and you're using your hands, like you're making something, you're putting your energy into this thing, right? So I want to ask, what is your sense of spirituality? And do you intentionally bring that into your artistic practice? Do you view your artistic practice as ritual? Do you view your artistic practice as a mantra in some way for yourself and the public? Do you view your artistic practice as a way of cleansing or manifestation work? What are your views on your practice spiritually?
I'll jump. Sorry. Speaking of nourishment and feeding myself, I'm finally feeding myself. I yes, everything. So I do. Part of my own process of even getting into art was inspired by my abuela Julia, who gave me like a lot of like this relationship with spirituality beyond the imposed Catholic upbringing I had. And since I started making art, it was about, you know, like the divine in everyday life and lo cotidiano, thinking about through symbolic acts and how can we make the divine? How can we connect to our spiritual side? How can we create community through that? So as I've evolved in my practice, I've not only been thinking about that conceptually, but literally bringing it into practice. So a lot of my performance work thus bring like Afro-Indigenous practices with limpias and also with symbolic ways of getting rid of things, purge. Hago mucha purga. I also do think and, como se dice, like thinking about healing generational trauma through also the symbol. Even though like I like my mantra is like, may the symbolic lead to action. So I do understand that the symbolic actions are the catalyzer for us to do stuff here in this plane, in the earthly plane. En plano, yo no sé, I don't know, my English today no está bonito, but I'm like constantly thinking about that, because our colonized minds and this structure where we exist gives a lot of, como se dice, just like focusing on, the material and how we relate ourselves to this materiality and these factual things that are just factual because the status quo is saying it's factual. I do believe that recognizing los saberes that we have, that knowledge from our taitas, from our ancestors, are the ones that are going to, change this paradigm that we're all like suffering from. Definitely certain people more than others. And usually these people are Black. So I'm just like really bringing in that into my practice, because I don't think that it's separated. Spiritual practices are in my educational practice, are in my artistic practice, and my Nesia practice. It's all spiritual.
I think for me,
I'll go. I don't know if my art is healing or anything. I don't know if I think about it like that. I feel like sometimes I kind of can't think about, like, I'm doing all the research and thinking about all these things, but then when I make it, it's almost like its own thing and I have to do what it wants. And I'm just like, okay, but I feel like I have to compartmentalize my life a little bit and be like, okay, now I'm an artist, now I'm a personal like I'm on my own, doing whatever embarrassing thing, or now I'm with my family, like everything. I don't know, I feel like I can't be thinking about art in all aspects of my life or I would go crazy. Like, I don't know. Yeah, but I do think like I really feel like I really admire like Gina, or like all your work, Catherine and Moréna, and like how you're really thinking about healing, because that's really, I feel like I like to look at other art and be like, oh, okay, now this is healing me. I can't do it.
Word. That's valid too. I mean, we all have different ways of engaging. I think that for me also, yeah, my work is very inherently spiritual. And I think that that's also because something I've been thinking about a lot lately is how I feel that my relationship to spirituality is very different than what I think is normalized in the United States, and how I always felt a little bit out of place with that conversation. Just because literally while I was growing up and like in school, we would get these books about genres like magical realism. And I just always remember feeling like this is called magical realism because some people outside of this context that don't believe these people's experiences is saying that this is like a made up thing. They don't understand like Afro-Indigenous spirituality can really be some other shit depending on where you grow up at. I feel like for me, I've just always, spirituality has not felt like a choice. Okay, like it's never been something that I feel like I like trained myself into and I just walked into and I was just like, yo, like I decided that this is what I'm gonna do and I'm gonna study it, like da-da-da-da. Like since I'm young, I've seen spiritual shit and I've had to learn how to move accordingly. And it's just always been like that with different people around me and in my community. And so similarly, my practice is informed by that because my practice heals me. I'm a very big believer in showing your public processing in a way that is very intimate and personal to you can serve and heal others and inspire others to find their own processing, right? Because at the end of the day, that's what it's about. I don't want to drill home a message or like a thesis to anybody. Like my entire work is about you reflecting on you and like making it back to you and understanding what this means for you. So that's what I do for me. And I share that. And my singing, my dancing, all of these things are things that are necessary to my well-being. That if I don't do them, I am not emotionally stable. I am not, even through COVID, the way that I was dealing, it was through engaging in dance and singing and all these different things in a ritualistic way and making sure that I took out time to do that. And I think it's also a way for, my ancestors to send me messages in the body as feelings, through the voice, right? Storytelling, oral history, the many ways in which oral history can exist through the body, through song, right? Through weaving, through cooking, if that's what you do. So I just shared that.
I'm over here clapping because I'm like, yeah, I relate to all of that. Like it's not a choice for me. Like this is just the way that I experience being in this body, being in this reality. Like it's all like, it's sandwiched for me. Like the veil has always been pretty thin for me. And it's like usually like not a choice, like when I'm kind of making work and it might seem like ritualistic, like it's just what happens. And and a lot of like my process of, like growing up has been like deciphering these experiences and like just like the language of other worlds and like being able to walk in that. So like, for example, in Mensaje para Escribiente, which is in the show, like way after the fact I made it, I realized like, oh, like I was just channeling them the whole time. Like they wanted to, like they had messages that they wanted to share with people. And I was like, just overwhelmed with them knocking. So I had to like release. So I had to make it. And as you like see in that video, like not only are like the experiences and like the voices coming through me, but I'm also like cleansing myself in like a ritual bath, which was also like shot in this documentary style. So for me, like it was a way of like escaping and like seeing my body in like a very like micro sense, like experiencing like my body as like the flesh of the earth. Like that was necessary for me at the time. And and it also like speaks to a lot about migration and like who can travel and not. And there's also this like collective channeling and healing aspect, or like when you talked about manifestation, for example, in my video piece, Virtual Caminos, it starts off with like a canto for el legua, and then it like goes into kind of sometimes 9 or 11 like different channels of videos of Black Dominicans and also descendants of Haitians who are Dominicans. The whole like complicated ways that the state uses to like delegitimize your body and like how you can move around, how you can live. That whole like process of like documenting like brought up and up and up again for the process of transmutation, for the process of change, for like the purpose of us like digesting and being able to like understand like a wider view, and then like have things be transformed in real time, or like in our worlds. So all that to say that yes, ritual is happening, and it's not necessarily always, I think, like it's not really intentional, like it just comes from me. And also yeah, I think also like expanding, like decolonizing ourselves, right? Like when we like, yeah, like this is just my experience, and this is the experience of many other people, is that live in many worlds, and like there's so much that is like also begging for our attention and for us to listen, that that I think the modern world's just that's like a whole nother topic, but yeah. I feel like I'm rambling at this moment.
Yeah, on that note, we actually received a question about boundaries, which is super important to also talk about. So someone asked, could you all share a first step of sorts for positively engaging with social media for someone who gets anxiety from having a platform?
I will delete like Instagram or social media for like days. I think it's just important to give yourself space. And like sometimes I'll do it like I'll look at it in the morning and then delete it for the day and then check in at night to see if I miss messages or anything. And then I'll delete it again. I think like just saying like the app's not on my phone, I can't access it, you know?
I've done that so many times, Chloe, and still I fall back into it. So I don't know, like with the whole thing with social media, I would say sometimes phones do have like certain apps that tell you like how's your usage, and you can put like digital well-being apps that will take that away. But also like, yeah, like put it grayscale. That's what I have done, like put it in grayscale. And I've done this, and again, I'm saying that this won't help because I still find myself going back into my phone and doing endless scrolling. But a lot of also knowing what is anxiety provoking and being like really aware of it. Like, oh, I'm anxious, I'm going to my phone. Like, be aware of that movement. Be aware of like, this. Why am I doing this? What is triggering that I have to skip to my phone? But yeah, like still, it's literally designed to make you feel this way and you pick it up. So it's not you, it's the technology.
Yeah, it's hard. I feel like most of us struggle with that to some extent. I also really like the idea of taking breaks if they're doable for you. I've been having trouble. OnlyFans is a very day-to-day sort of hustle, really. But I would also say that I think mornings can be really powerful. That is like what helps reorient me a lot. Like if I decide to kind of have a morning routine that I follow, and within this morning routine include like I'm not going to look at my phone until I've done like XYZ things that I know will get me present and in my body and have me making decisions that are more healthy for myself. So for example, if I like wake up and I'm like, okay, I like to journal, you know, get down any downloads from the dreams or things that I'm processing, make some tea, make some breakfast, maybe do one activity. you know, like for my self-enjoyment, be that read or like just create something. And then after all of that, I'm like, okay, you can look at social media. And I feel like that really helps, especially if you build up a pattern over time, because it will just like ground you more. So you'll have more willpower, you know, and you'll be in like a better headspace to make decisions throughout the day.
So we're close to closing this talk very soon, but I'm gonna ask one quick question because I feel like, yeah, I think this could really serve everyone that's listening. So, you know, we're living through a crazy time. The elections are coming up. Is a pandemic. Yeah, we're in the state of like, how do we practice boundaries? Because boundaries are super important right now. And how do we communicate with people? How do we communicate with them online? And if we can't see them in person or we don't want to see them in person, you know, how do we communicate? How do we, you know, do boundaries? Things are flipped. We have to really kind of unlearn some things so that we could stay healthy and mentally and physically. So my question is, when you feel like maybe the day isn't going right for you, you're being challenged in some way, something comes to you, you don't know what to do, what is a mantra you tell yourself? Like, what do you tell yourself when you're just having a hard time? Like, how do you pull yourself back up? What do you tell yourself, or even like, what do you do?
I don't know. I guess I try to do nothing. When I'm stressed out, I try to force myself to do nothing and be okay with being like, okay, I don't have to be productive, or I need to think about this right now. What am I doing? You know, I think it's good to take just like a break.
I definitely, oh, sorry, go Chloe.
I was gonna say, I think it's important, like during those moments, to really like check in with yourself and see how things might be unbalanced in your life. Because I feel like even though we might be doing less or like going less places, we're still experiencing like a lack of balance. But we like for some reason don't notice it as much now, or at least I'm finding that with myself. So like just taking like 5 minutes to check in or write or like pull tarot cards or like something to like just check in, see where you're at and like where you want to put your intentions.
Yeah, I definitely feel and this is, oh, I was working with the Department of Education as a teacher during all this thing. And this still, like, we are in a really difficult moment. We are like, if you already had intersections of things that were oppressing you, like this is even worse. Like, it's not, even if you're like, well, I'm at home, I'm safe, it doesn't matter. And it's okay to feel weird, to feel stressed, to feel like shit is going to shit. Like, it's okay, because you know what, like, there's a lot of things that we don't know, and part of it is being okay with not being okay. Part of it, like, I feel that there's like a lot of toxic positivity around, that it's like, you know, like, oh, we need to just like be grateful and present. Nah, you have the right to feel like nothing's going to be okay, and just like embrace it, like hold yourself with that feeling, express it, look for someone who's willing, and tell them like, I need you to listen to me. My friends know all the time, like, I'm like, I need to vent, and if they have the energy and if they are available, like, I vent. So what I do is that, like, either I go on a walk and I vent if I can. If not, honestly, water. I'm a Cancer baby, so water's my element. I go take a shower. I have everything in that bathroom that has like smells, all the creams in the world. So yo me sobo todo, sí, de que, like I make sure that I'm touching and feeling myself and smelling amazing. And then I just like watch awful reality TV. That's what I do.
Yeah, I think for me, I like really have to root into my connection to like the earth. And for me, that's always been dancing and like literally touching the earth and like either whether I'm like farming or gardening or like communicating with plants or just like out in a mountain. But yeah, it's been tough, especially in like the past 4 weeks. Most of my life has been like this here pose right now, like being in front of the screen. So like, yeah, sound is really important. I'm like always, yeah, just like dancing in my room, you know, it's kind of sad that we can't be together on the dance floor, but yeah, I pretty much listen to music and dance like all the time, or I'm like outside trying to get my hands on the land. And that for me is really grounding to just remember, you know, and to feel. I think that's also like another way that like we're just like disconnected from our own intelligence, from our own wisdom, from our own guidance and light is like the disconnection that we have from our own bodies and vessels and connection. And so
Yes, I love these answers. Thank you everyone for sharing. I think that what I do has changed or is in flux, really, depending on where I'm at. I feel like it's a constant conversation of like checking in and with my new circumstances and seeing what I need, how I feel. But lately, similarly to everyone with like the picking up of all of this digital stuff, I do find myself feeling the capitalism in a more prominent way. Just meaning that feeling that like work mode. And so whereas before I probably would have said like I'll start dancing or I'll start singing, the truth is that those are not things that always inherently will be transmuting the emotion unless I'm tapping into the emotion. So I think that what's key for me is tapping into how I feel. And for me, particularly right now, like I be trying to cry. And I be trying to feel those fears and let it out. Like I also like to listen to I'm very big on like being in tune with my body and feeling my body. And so when I do dance though, like I'll tap into places where I know I have stress, where I know I feel the manifestations of the pain. It becomes very kinetic in that way. But I also like to listen to like meditative sounds, right? And like if I feel like I've been feeling sad lately, or I have kind of like this repressed emotion in my heart. Like this morning, I was listening to heart chakra meditation sounds, like isochronic tones, like just concentrating, trying to cry and like open it up. You feel me? Like, yeah. And that applies to anything. Like if I feel a lot of energy overreacting, like in my sacral or whatever, if I feel like a lack of confidence, like, you know, a mix of these things.
So on that note, thank you guys so much. I feel so full right now. I feel like, I feel cozy. So thank you guys so much for being here and sharing your energy with us and the audience. Thank you for everyone that is tuning in. Thank you, Latinx Project, Nicole, Arlene, Jessica, Thank you for opening up your space to us. And yeah, I'm wishing everyone a beautiful day. I'm inspired to like take a bath and dance or do something today. So thank you guys so much. And also be sure, if you want to interact with the social media realm, please follow us on Instagram or follow our work. If you go to the Latinx Project website, you could check out the exhibition. And then on every artist's page, we have their IGs, and we also have their artist website, so you guys could explore more of their work. Thank you guys so much. Yeah.
Thank you.
Let's all put on
Thank you.
our sounds. Hey.
Have a nice day, y'all.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Oh wait, let's take a selfie really quick. I'm gonna do a screenshot.
Okay.
No, espérate.
This
Okay.
is like equivalent to a group photo. All right, 1, 2, 3. Hey, dope.
Because you always notice which person takes the screenshot because everyone else is like,
Alrighty, thank you guys.
Thank you.